What do you get when you combine billions of dollars, royal tastes, and a love for the sea? You get yachts so fancy they make the Titanic look like a rowboat. We're about to show you 11 floating palaces that'll have you questioning everything you thought you knew about boats. Dubai. Meet Rashid Al Maktoum, the big boss of Dubai. You might know him as Sheikh Mo if you're one of his fans. Now this ain't just any old boat. It's a 161-foot monster that's like a mashup of old-school Arab style and high-tech gadgets. Imagine taking one of those traditional dhow ships used for pearl trading back in the day and giving it a serious upgrade. That's what we're dealing with here. The coolest part? The wheelhouse. It's all hand-carved wood that looks fancy as hell but also feels kinda homey. It's like Sheikh Mohammed wanted to show off his family's merchant roots while still flexing his wealth. Smart move if you ask me. But don't think this yacht is all about looks. Nah, it's got some serious tech under the hood. We're talking advanced radar systems that can guide this beast 50 miles out into the Arabian Sea. And it ain't no slowpoke either. It can cruise at 17 knots. That's pretty swift for something this size. Now let's step inside because that's where things get real interesting. The living quarters are decked out with hand-woven silk fabrics made by some seriously skilled Yemeni craftsmen. These ain't your grandma's quilts. We're talking about intricate patterns that have been passed down for generations. According to Darwish bin Rashid, the senior interior supervisor, the embroidery designs are inspired by spice souks and markets. It's like they brought a piece of Dubai's history right onto the boat. Pretty cool, right? But what's a luxury yacht without some killer food? Sheikh Mohammed's got that covered too. His personal executive chef whips up custom feasts that put a fancy twist on local dishes or serve up some exotic foreign flavors. It's all about that legendary Arab hospitality, you know? Now, here's where things get real fancy. The yacht's got an open observation deck on top where Sheikh Mohammed can take his important guests to check out stuff like the Perseid meteor showers. They even use some high-tech Swiss binoculars that stay steady no matter how rough the sea gets. This yacht, named Dubai, ain't just a boat. It's like a symbol of what Dubai's all about. It takes all that traditional Emirati culture and mixes it with modern luxury. It's exactly what Sheikh Mohammed wants Dubai to be. A place that's moving forward but ain't forgetting where it came from. Serene. Introducing to you about a $500 million floating palace that's changed hands from a Russian vodka tycoon to Saudi royalty. Yeah, you heard that right. $500 million. That's enough to buy a small country, but these guys decided to spend it on a boat instead. This beast is called Serene, and it's anything but calm and peaceful. It's a monster of luxury that'll make your jaw drop. The yacht was built by some fancy Italian designers and German craftsmen for a Russian guy named Yuri Shefler. He's the big boss of a premium vodka company that celebs and royals can't get enough of. Now get this, it took over 4 years to build this thing and cost about 330 million euros. That's a whole lot of vodka if you ask me. But Shefler wanted something that matched the power of his booze empire, so he went all out. One of the coolest parts of Serene is the owner's suite. It's 70 feet wide, that's wider than some houses. And it's got views that'll make you forget you're on a boat. Oh, and there's an outdoor bathtub too, because why not, right? But that's nothing compared to what's below deck. Serene has a heated swimming pool with these crazy turquoise neon-lit stairs. And where do those stairs lead? To an underwater disco lounge, of course. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. And if you're not in the mood to dance, no worries, they can turn it into a private cinema. Talk about fancy. Now here's where things get really interesting. In 2015, this Russian vodka king's yacht caught the eye of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The prince was like, I want that. And boom, he bought it for a cool $500 million while it was just chilling on the French Riviera. But MBS, that's what they call the prince, didn't stop there. He decided to upgrade this already insane yacht. Now it's got a wine cellar with rare vintages that'd make any collector jealous. There's even a whole deck that's just a fancy Arab-style lounge where the prince and his buddies can puff on expensive cigars and make billion-dollar deals. It's like a floating office, but way cooler. And you know a yacht this fancy needs a top-notch crew. MBS hired over 60 people to keep things running smooth. We're talking about folks who used to work at 5-star hotels, now catering to every whim of the passengers 24/7. Since MBS got his hands on Serene, he's been cruising all over the place. From Monaco to the Turkish Riviera, this yacht's seen more luxury hotspots than most people see in a lifetime. Lotus. Mentioning a yacht that looks like it came straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's called Lotus, and it belongs to British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Now this ain't your average billionaire's plaything. Ratcliffe's got a net worth of about $15 billion according to Forbes. and he decided to spend a chunk of that on a yacht that's unlike anything you've ever seen. This thing is 350 feet long and shaped like, get this, a giant sphere. Yeah, you heard that right, a sphere. On water. It's like someone took a look at normal yacht designs and said, nah, too boring, let's make it round. And that's exactly what Ratcliffe did. He got together with his fancy Monaco friends one night, sketched out this crazy idea on a napkin, and then handed it over to some German yacht specialists to make it real. The result? A yacht with 3 spherical decks stacked on top of each other like some kind of futuristic flower. It's a blend of aviation and nautical science that'll make your head spin, and it ain't just for show. These spherical decks give the yacht almost twice the space of a normal yacht. That means room for 16 VIP guests to live it up in style. But Ratcliffe didn't stop at the shape. He went all out on the inside too. We're talking about 8 elite suites filled with fancy Portuguese furniture. It's like a floating 5-star hotel, but way more exclusive. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what's with the name Lotus? Well, Ratcliffe's got an answer for that. He said, we deliberately named her Lotus after the pure and perfect aquatic flower held divine in Buddhist traditions to symbolize harmonic ambitions within environment and self through purity of purpose values I resonate with. Deep stuff from a guy who made his fortune in chemicals. Speaking of the environment, Ratcliffe made sure his crazy sphere yacht wasn't just a gas-guzzling monster. Nah, he packed it full of eco-friendly tech. We're talking hybrid diesel-electric propellers and all sorts of fancy systems to save energy. But don't think that means it's slow. This beast can still hit 20 knots even when the seas get rough. Building something this wild ain't easy. It took a special shipyard in Germany and a whole lot of work. They had to put together millions of pieces of aluminum like some giant 3D jigsaw puzzle. The result? A 600-ton, gently smiling metallic orb resembling a fragile flower, as some folks described it. Topaz. This ain't just a yacht. It's a floating presidential palace. We're talking about Topaz, the 482-foot monster owned by UAE President Sheikh Khalifa. Yeah, you heard that right. The actual president of the UAE has a yacht that's longer than a football field. Now, when you're running a country, you can't just cruise around in any old boat. Topaz is decked out with some serious James Bond-level security features. We're talking armored sides that can probably take a hit from a torpedo. And get this, it's got a low radar profile so it can sneak around without getting noticed. It's like a stealth bomber, but for the sea. But the coolest part, the antennas on this thing look like they belong on a spy satellite. They're not just for show. These bad boys are encrypted communication systems that make the CIA jealous. It's like Sheikh Khalifa brought his whole Secret Service team with him on vacation. Now let's talk about what's inside this floating fortress. Because if you thought the outside was impressive, wait till you hear about the interior. Topaz has got not 1, but 2 multi-story owner suites. These things are so big they make the VIP guest penthouses look like closets. It's basically a 6-star resort that just happens to float. But running a yacht this size ain't easy. You need a small army to keep things running smooth. That's why Topaz has a crew of 90 people working full-time. And these ain't just any crew members. They're trained at the best European hospitality schools before they even set foot on the yacht. It's like Sheikh Khalifa's got his own floating 5-star hotel staff. Now you might be wondering why a president needs all this fancy stuff on a boat. Well, here's the thing. Topaz ain't just for fun. It's a mobile command center for Sheikh Khalifa. He uses it to communicate securely across the planet while he's steering his resource-wealthy emirate. It's like he took his whole office and put it on a yacht. And we're not just talking about a few computers and a fax machine. Topaz has got 2 boardrooms, theaters with leather reclining seats, and live satellite teleconference auditoriums. It's a fully equipped business travel conveyance for the UAE president. He can run the country from anywhere in the world, all while chilling on his mega yacht. But here's the real kicker. All this luxury and high-tech gadgetry comes with a price tag that'll make your head spin. We're talking billions of dollars here. But when you're overseeing the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, estimated at $3 trillion, I guess $1 billion yacht is just pocket change. Lady MOA? This floating mansion belongs to Saudi entrepreneur Nasser al-Rashid. Now, when most people think about dropping $100 million, they might buy a small island or a bunch of fancy cars, but not al-Rashid. He decided to spend that cash on a yacht that's basically a luxury hotel on water. Lady MOA ain't your average boat. It took 4 years for some German shipyard to build this 344-foot monster. That's longer than a football field, folks. And it's got 3 decks, because why settle for 1 when you can have 3, right? Now, let's talk about how this thing looks. It's got this shiny white top part that makes it look all fancy and welcoming. But underneath, it's got this metallic blue color that screams, "I'm rich and I know it." It's like the yacht equivalent of wearing a tux with sneakers. But the real magic happens when you step inside. The floors? They're not just any old floors. They've got these fancy Versace mosaics that probably cost more than your house. And the walls? They're made of this exotic Indian rosewood that's so rare it's probably illegal in some countries. But wait, there's more. The deck chairs ain't just any old chairs. They're embroidered by Dior. Yeah, that Dior. It's like Al-Rashid went on a shopping spree and bought out every luxury brand he could find. Now let's talk about the master suite. This thing is so big it takes up the whole width of the owner's deck. And the views, floor-to-ceiling windows that give you a 180-degree look at the ocean. It's like being in an IMAX theater, but instead of watching a movie, you're watching dolphins and stuff. But here's where things get really crazy. Remember that tennis court I mentioned earlier? Yeah, it's at the back of the boat, so you can play a quick match while cruising the Mediterranean. And if tennis ain't your thing, no worries. There's also a squash court below deck. Rumor has it that the champion from Monte Carlo likes to use it. Fancy, huh? But the coolest part of this yacht, it's got this crazy hydraulic system at the back. With just a push of a button, a 25-foot wide terrace pops out right above the waves. It's perfect for those fancy candlelit dinners where you pretend you're not on a boat that costs more than most people will earn in their lifetime. Lady MOA was so innovative when it came out that all these Western designers and rich folks couldn't stop talking about it. It's like Al-Rashid looked at regular yachts and said, nah, not good enough, let's add some sci-fi stuff to it. Radiant, this thing ain't just a boat, it's like a floating private resort that's straight out of Star Trek. Now you might be thinking, how long does it take to build something this crazy? Well, it took the German yacht makers Nobis Krug 5 whole years to put this beast together. That's longer than it takes most people to finish college. But let's talk about how this thing looks. Radiant's got this metallic blue paint job that lights up at night. It's like someone took a spaceship and dropped it in the Arabian Gulf. When this thing cruises by, people probably think they're being invaded by aliens. And it ain't just the outside that's out of this world. Radiant's got so much stuff packed inside, it's more like a small cruise ship than a yacht. We're talking 4,516 GT of volume. That's enough space to fit a whole lot of luxury. Now let's peek inside, because that's where things get real fancy. You want a movie theater? Radiant's got a private Dolby Atmos cinema. Feeling stressed? Hit up the fully equipped spa and gym. And these ain't your average hotel amenities. The spa was set up by some fancy Hungarian wellness experts. But wait, there's more. Radiant's got a 20-meter pool with its own grotto and jacuzzi. It's like having your own private water park on board. And for all you wine lovers out there, there's a walk-in fine wine cellar. Because nothing says luxury like sipping on rare vintages while cruising the open seas. Oh, and if you're worried about how to get to this floating palace, don't sweat it. Radiant's got its own helipad. Yeah, you can just chop her in like a real billionaire. Now, you might be wondering how many people can party on this thing. Well, Radiant can fit 20 guests in 10 fancy suites. But that ain't all. It takes 50 crew members to keep this 7-star hotel on water running smoothly. That's more staff than some actual hotels. And Khalaf Al-Abor ain't shy about showing off his toy. Radiant's been spotted hanging out in all the billionaire hotspots. We're talking places like St. Barth's, where the parties never stop and the champagne never runs out. Yachts. Welcome to Yachts, the $300 million party palace owned by Sheikh Hamdan bin Zayed Al Nahyan. This thing is massive. We're talking 495 feet of pure luxury. That's longer than 1.5 football fields. Sheikh Hamdan didn't just buy this yacht. He had it custom built right in Abu Dhabi. And get this, he named it after the Yas Island F1 racing circuit. Because when you're this rich, why not name your boat after a racetrack? But the real magic happens when you step inside. Yas has got this crazy audiovisual cocooning technology in the owner's suites. It's like being in a sci-fi movie. They use some fancy patented materials and these retractable balcony shells that let you see the ocean without anyone seeing you. It's perfect for when you want to feel like a spy on vacation. Now let's talk about the coolest part of this yacht, the giant underwater grotto nightclub. Yeah, you read that right. An underwater nightclub. It's like partying in Atlantis, but with better music. And if you're not in the mood to dance, no problem. This place can turn into a private Dolby Atmos theater, so you can watch movies underwater. How's that for fancy? But wait, there's more. Yas has got an Olympic-length pool with some crazy mosaic tile work. It's designed to make you feel like you're in Monaco, because why go to Monaco when you can bring Monaco to your yacht, right? Now, you might be thinking, how do I get to this floating party palace? Well, Sheikh Hamdan's got you covered. Yas has twin helipads. Yeah, 2 of them. Because one helipad is for peasants, I guess. It's perfect for quick arrivals and departures. You know, in case you need to jet off to another billion-dollar deal or something. And if all that partying and deal-making has got you feeling tired, don't worry. Yachts has got some fancy gym and spa zones to help you relax. It's like having your own personal wellness retreat right on the water. Lady H. Now you might think a guy who runs a whole country would name his yacht after himself or some fancy place. But nah, Sheikh Mohammed went and named it after his daughter, H. Haya bint Al Hussein. And get this, she ain't just some rich kid, she's a British Olympic equestrian medal contender and former Jordanian princess. Talk about overachieving. But let's get back to the yacht, because this thing is something else. When you step inside Lady H, it's like walking into a mahogany forest. The walls are covered in this rare quilted mahogany wood that's so fancy it probably costs more than your house. It's not just about looking good though. This wood gives the whole place a real classy vibe. But wait, there's more. You know how some people have a man cave? Well, Sheikh Mohammed's got a whole Dolby Atmos cinema lounge on his boat. It's like having your own private IMAX theater, but way fancier. Can you imagine watching the latest blockbuster while cruising the Arabian Gulf? That's how Dubai's elite roll. Now, from the outside, Lady H looks like it means business. It's got this sleek midnight blue hull that makes it stand out from all those boring white yachts. And those radar arches? They ain't just for show. They hint at some serious tech under the hood. But it's not all about looking tough. The inside of this yacht is softer than a kitten's fur. They've got these bespoke hand-tufted wool carpets that cover the floors. They're not just for show either. They absorb sound and make walking around feel like you're stepping on clouds. And if you thought your guest room was nice, wait till you hear about this. Lady H can fit 14 VIP guests in 6 suites. And these ain't just any old rooms. Each one is named after famous figures like Sinbad. It's like sleeping in a floating history book, but way more comfortable. Now, running a yacht this fancy ain't easy. That's why Sheikh Mohammed's got a crew that'd make a 5-star hotel jealous. We're talking private butlers, executive chefs, and even therapists. These folks are on call 24/7 to make sure everyone's living their best life at sea. Pelorus. Introducing Pelorus, the 115-meter beast owned by British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe. Forbes says this guy's worth about $15 billion, and he decided to spend a chunk of that on a yacht that's changing the game. Now, most billionaires just buy a big boat and call it a day, but not Ratcliffe. He looked at regular yachts and said, nah, let's make this thing eco-friendly. So he went and turned Pelorus into a green machine on water. This yacht's got some crazy tech under the hood. We're talking about advanced hybrid AIP cod propulsion. Don't worry if that sounds like gibberish. All you need to know is that it makes the boat way cleaner for the environment. It's like Ratcliffe took a Tesla and made it float. But the eco-friendly stuff doesn't stop there. Pelorus has got all sorts of fancy systems to cut down on noise and emissions. It's probably quieter than your neighbour's electric car. And get this, Ratcliffe spent an extra 20 million euros just to make sure this thing was as green as possible. That's more money than most of us will see in our lifetime. And he spent it on making his yacht less polluting. Now let's talk about the coolest part of this yacht, the bow. Most yachts just have a pointy front, but not Pelorus. It's got this crazy sculpture called a drift. It's not just for show either. This thing is supposed to calm whales. Yeah, you heard that right. It's like Ratcliffe wanted to make sure even the sea creatures were living their best life around his boat. But don't think all this eco stuff means the yacht ain't luxurious. Pelorus has got some fancy lounges and staterooms that'd make a 5-star hotel jealous. But here's the kicker. They're all designed with eco-friendly materials. We're talking about renewable bamboo woods and stuff like that. It's like Ratcliffe wanted to prove you can be rich and care about the planet at the same time. And if you thought this yacht was just for fun, think again. Pelorus ain't just cruising around looking pretty. It's got labs on board for environmental footprint analysis. It's like a floating research station. And get this, it's got special equipment to analyze coral shelf life and test underwater electricity generators. It's not just a yacht, it's a whole science project. Al Said. The 160-meter monster was owned by the late Sultan Qaboos of Oman. This ain't just any old boat. It's a floating palace that doubles as a secret command center. Now, most yachts are built for partying, but Al Said, it's built for diplomacy. Yeah, you heard that right. This thing's got state banquet lounges that'd make the White House jealous. Sultan Qaboos wasn't messing around. He wanted a place where he could wine and dine world leaders without anyone butting in. But the real showstopper on this yacht, it's got a concert hall that's bigger and fancier than some actual opera houses in Europe. Can you imagine catching a symphony while cruising the Arabian Sea? That's how the Sultan rolled. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what's with all the fancy music stuff? Well, turns out Sultan Qaboos was a huge classical music fan. He didn't just want a yacht, he wanted a floating cultural center. It's like he took a piece of Vienna and plopped it right in the middle of the ocean. But don't think Al Said is all about fancy dinners and music. This thing's got some serious James Bond level tech. We're talking about advanced communication systems that are linked to encrypted satellites. The Sultan could handle top secret government business from anywhere in the world. It's like having a mobile Pentagon, but way fancier. And get this, Al Said's got all sorts of crazy safety features. It's got underwater spy subs, heat-sensing cameras, and even missile warnings. There are 4 standby interceptor boats ready to jump into action if any pirates or terrorists try to mess with the Sultan's floating palace. It's like a whole military base packed into one yacht. Now you might be wondering why a sultan needs all this crazy stuff on a boat. Well, here's the thing. Al Said wasn't just for fun. Sultan Qaboos used it as a mobile diplomatic platform. He'd invite envoys and tribal rulers on board to hash out deals away from prying eyes on land. It's like he took the idea of international waters and turned it into his own private negotiation zone. But don't think all this serious stuff means Al Said ain't luxurious. The inside of this thing is decked out with some crazy fancy decor. We're talking about a mix of super modern minimalist stuff and traditional Arab designs. It's like someone took a 5-star hotel and mashed it up with an ancient palace. Al Salamah, hold on to your belt as we introduce you to Al Salamah, a $200 million floating masterpiece owned by Saudi Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz. This thing ain't just big, it's a whole kingdom on water. Now, most rich folks are happy with one helipad on their yacht, but Prince Sultan, he went and put 2 of them on Al Salamah. Cause why land 1 helicopter when you can land 2, right? It's like he's got his own mini airport floating in the ocean. But that's nothing compared to what's inside. Al Salamah got internal swimming pools. Yeah, you heard that right. Not just one, but multiple pools inside the yacht. It's like the prince wanted to bring the beach onto his boat. And if you thought your guest room was fancy, wait till you hear about this. Al Salamah can fit up to 4 dozen VIP guests in its suites. That's more people than most of us have at our birthday parties. Each suite is probably bigger and fancier than a 5-star hotel room. But here's where things get really interesting. Since Prince Sultan passed away in 2011, his son, Prince Khaled bin Sultan Al Saud, took over the yacht. And he didn't just sit back and enjoy it. He went and made it even fancier. Prince Khaled spent millions updating Al Salamah with the latest tech. We're talking about new satellite uplinks that let you have fully encrypted telepresence meetings. It's like he turned this yacht into a floating secret headquarters. The yacht's operations center is now so high-tech, it lets royals and management officials talk securely even when they're thousands of miles apart. It's like something out of a spy movie, but it's real and it's floating in the ocean. But don't think Al Salamah is all business. This thing's got concert halls, luxury hospital facilities, a gym and a spa. It's basically a whole city on water. You could live on this yacht for months and never get bored. And the staterooms, they're designed to host visiting dignitaries. It's like Prince Khaled wanted to make sure he could throw the fanciest parties in the middle of the ocean.